Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is a live service looter shooter developed by Rocksteady Studios, released in 2024. It is a sequel to Batman Arkham Knight, so it had a lot of hype when it was announced, then it released. My expectations were extremely low before playing this. I'm a big fan of the Arkham games. I've only ever heard terrible things about this game. It was only a 5, so I thought, how bad can it be? You play as the Suicide Squad, a group of villains made up of Harley Quinn, King Shark, Captain Boomerang and Deadshot, who is black now for some reason, who are forced to take down a brainwashed Justice League being controlled by Brainiac. The stakes are high as Brainiac is already in the middle of the invasion of Metropolis. But why would a group of villains care about saving the world? That's where Amanda Waller comes in. She puts the bombs in the head of the squad, forcing them to do what she says, or else kaboom. Well, that's it for the basic setup, and it's not a bad idea for a game. It just feels like this should have come after a Justice League game or a lower stakes Suicide Squad game, as none of the League have been set up in the Arkham games. We don't know what this Superman's like. Is he dark or light-hearted? We don't know what the relationship between the League members are. We don't know if they have different origins than the ones we're used to, and we're already killing them off. The idea of killing them is also probably going to turn off a lot of people. I would assume that most people like these characters, especially Batman, as we've had other games with him. This is the same for the rest of the characters, like the squad gets introduced and it's like, here's a Sharkman and a Boomerang dude, also they're the bad guys. You don't really get their backstories, like why are they in Arkham, what crimes did they commit. You would think each of the squad members would have a connection with one of the Justice League, like Batman, Harley Quinn, or Flash and Boomerang, which okay, makes sense, but Deadshot is connected to Green Lantern for some reason. I thought he was normally a Batman villain. Then King Shark has a connection to nobody. Like, how hard would it have been to have a Wonder Woman or Superman villain instead? This game would be hard to connect with if you're not a DC fan. If you just played the Arkham games, you're not going to know who a lot of these characters are, as the game doesn't set them up well. It just assumes you're a comic fan. Like, I was playing with a friend, they didn't understand what Green Lantern's powers are. He thought it was just like magic or something. So let's talk about the plot. Spoiler warning, it's awful. So many characters have to be basically retarded for the plot to happen. First off, why in God's name would Amanda Waller pick a woman with a baseball bat and a dude with a boomerang to take on Superman? She could pick any villain in the DC universe, she picks one with no powers. Secondly, what makes her think 4 people with guns is going to stop the entire alien invasion and defeat the Justice League? We all know Batman alone could take down the squad. Hell, he does at the start of the game, one of the game's best bits. Like, the Flash rips out a guy's heart in a second during the game and just decides he's not going to do that to the squad. Same for Superman. He could just pick up the squad and throw him into the sun. Thirdly, Brainiac can somehow stop the entire League and the army, but they can't take down the squad. I know the game couldn't happen otherwise, but maybe this shouldn't have been the plot to the game. The way the plot unfolds is also repetitive and predictable. You get to the point where you need to kill the Flash and the squad's like, how are we going to do that? Luckily, there just so happens to be an inventor nearby that can make some random thing that slows down the Flash. Then you have to kill Superman, who by the way is in this game for about 15 minutes, incredibly underused. The squad is like, how are we going to do that? Don't worry, there's a different inventor nearby who can make some random thing that can weaken Superman. Like, why are there so many inventors in this city that's been on a war zone for a few weeks? Wonder Woman is possibly the worst character. She's the only member of the League who hasn't been brainwashed by Brainiac. Why? Because she's a woman, I guess. She shows up every so often, does nothing and buggers off again. The invasion has been going on for at least 2 weeks. What the fuck has she been doing the entire time? She shows up to tell you to leave because she's got this and does nothing by the next time you see her. She also doesn't seem to care that you killed her friends. Like, she saw you fighting the Flash and did nothing. It might be nice if she showed up during the fight to help you or something. Towards the end of the game, she makes a kryptonite shield to stop Superman, like, here we go, she's gonna do something, and then Superman kills her. Like, what a waste. It feels like the people writing this game had no respect for the heroes. Like, after Flash dies, Boomerang takes a piss on his corpse. I know he's a villain, but who actually wanted to see that? Batman gets the most disrespect. This is the same man I've been playing as since 2009, and Harley Quinn, of all people, just shoots him in the head. He does not fight back, no backup plan, just sits there and takes it. Why did Rocksteady think anyone would be happy with this? Like, was I supposed to be like, yay, good for you, Harley? Unfortunately, Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman, died after this game came out. This is a terrible way to say goodbye to his Batman. After the last update to the game, it's revealed that the Brainwash League were just clones, and the real Justice League are alive. Fuck off, like, I get this was the plan the whole time, but the damage was done. I think the game would have been better if they told you they were clones from the start, and the League were just captured. That way, would have actually rooted for the squad. Also, Wonder Woman wasn't brainwashed, so I guess she is just dead now. There's rumour that Rocksteady are making another Batman game, so I pray to God they make this game non-canon. So the League are done dirty in this game, but how about the squad? They're awful too. They don't grow or have any arcs as characters. They don't shut up, just constantly talking outside of cutscenes. Their writing is painfully unfunny. It's clearly influenced by Guardians of the Galaxy, which I'm sick of people trying to copy in media. It just doesn't work. The only one that made me laugh was King Shark, but this is few and far between. Amanda Waller also just a massive cunt, and that's it. Like, she doesn't get her comeuppance. She's not like, well, just a generic strong female character. This game being a live service means the ending is just shit. You kill Brainiac, but it's revealed there are like a dozen more of him you have to kill. Come back in the next update. It doesn't feel like an ending. It's incredibly unsatisfying. The squad are in the same position as they were at the start of the game, except they are friends now. Like, I must have missed this. When did that happen? They kind of just shat on each other throughout the entire game. The invasion is still happening, so you just get to keep fighting after the credits roll. It all just feels so pointless. But hey, they added more characters after the launch, like Bargain Bin Joker, who's missing a leg, or Mr. Freeze. I'm sorry, I meant Mrs. Freeze. Like, we could have really cool villains, but instead we get the Diversity Squad instead. They don't even play that differently to the rest of the squad either. Speaking of gameplay, how is it? I'm surprised to say it's not terrible, like I was expecting, just bland. Each character has their own traversal ability, which are fun enough. Deadshot gets a jetpack to fly around, Boomerang teleports to his boomerang after he throws it, Harley can swing and use grapple hook, and King Shark can jump really high. All of these felt fluid and responsive, but you probably master it after about 5 minutes with the character. It's basically just different timings on the bumpers. The traversal is the only thing different between the characters. They all feel the same to play when running around and shooting. I wish they had their own abilities like in Borderlands to help them stand out from each other. They all share loot besides melee weapon, which doesn't make you play differently. They all have their own skill trees, which you would think means they all have their own strengths and weaknesses, but it didn't feel that way to me. The skill tree is shit. Most of the upgrades are just stat increases, none of them made me change the way I played, and I wasn't looking forward to leveling up just to pick one. The combat is fun for a few hours but gets repetitive fast. You can do the basic shooting, throw grenades and melee the enemies. If you melee an enemy, they'll go into the air giving you a chance to juggle them with your bullets. When an enemy is about to hit you, they will have an icon over their head, meaning you can counter just like in the Arkham games. The fun comes from mixing the shooting with the traversal mechanics, as enemies normally spawn above you or far away. This gives a nice vertical feeling to the game. You'll also die fast if you sit still, so it's best to be on the move. I would say there's a nice variety of enemy types in the game, like a super fast alien or a helicopter or a tank, but I didn't really notice as none of the enemies made me change the way I played. I just shot them like every other enemy. They all look the same as well. Same for the bosses, just shoot at them till they die. It's quite mindless. The worst being the final boss is just a reskin of the Flash boss fight. Like, come on, can they come up with at least one more boss fight? The actual missions are not good either. Just different versions of shoot all the enemies, but sometimes you have to defend a spot or a very slow moving vehicle, or shoot the enemies so they drop something. There's just no variety. It makes the game become tedious fast. But this is a looter shooter, right? So will the loot save it? Well, I'm gonna say no. Better loot in this game just adds different effects to it, like fire or electricity. It doesn't make you shoot differently or change the way you play. Borderlands works because it has lots of different guns with lots of different effects, like a gun that has bouncing bullets or one that turns into a grenade when you reload. It's fun to experiment to see which suits your playstyle. In Suicide Squad, they all just feel the same. When I started the game, I got a lot of free high-end loot from the in-game mail, which probably didn't help this game, as I just used the same stuff from start to finish. But hey, maybe if I didn't use these free weapons, I wouldn't have found the game too grindy and never finished it. Let's talk about something I did like, the city. It feels like Sunset Overdrive is colourful and vertical. There are lots of landmarks, and the skybox with Brainiac's ship looming over the city is gorgeous. I think it would feel more alive if there were civilians around hiding from the aliens. I wish there was more to do than just Riddler trophies, riddles and time travels, which I'm surprised they added, as some people complained when he was making time travels in Arkham Knight. It feels like the Riddler is just here because it's an Arkham game, like why would he waste his time with a squad? Suicide Squad also has really nice graphics. It's colourful and pleasant to look at. Some of the skins you can lock are cool, but there are way too many ugly ones as well. The facial animations during cutscenes are also top notch. So is the voice acting. You could tell Kevin Conroy was enjoying playing an evil Batman for a change. Everyone did a good job with their voices, even if I didn't like what they were saying most of the time. Even after all this time, the game is still a bit buggy. I had a few crashes whilst playing, certain characters didn't appear during cutscenes, I had to do a couple mission resets because the game wouldn't load, and a few characters did the classic T-pose every so often. But hey, at least the in-game shop where you can buy overpriced skins for real money seems to work fine. The battle pass also takes way too long to get through. By the time I was done with the game, I wasn't even 25% the way through. Overall, I don't think Suicide Squad is as bad as everyone says it is. There is fun to be had with it in the gameplay, but gets repetitive fast. I have no idea how they thought people would want to play this for months on end. The live service aspect of this game really drags it down. Not everything should be like Fortnite. The story is god awful and deserves to be taken out back and asked to look at the rabbits like Lenny. So I'm going to put it at the bottom of the ranking, easily the worst thing I played on the channel so far, but not as bad as I was expecting considering what I've seen about the game. Well, that's all folks.